Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Jan Roberts here from South Africa and the Key Leadership Institute, and I am continuing my daily session on values. And yesterday I did the value of self-esteem, and today it'll be the value of forgiveness. We're sitting here in the dark at the moment. I've got some artificial lights around me, but we have internet anyway, as we've got power cuts here. But nothing can stop us in the power cut. So today the value of forgiveness, and to forgive is to set a person free and discover that prisoner was you. And that's by a quote by Lewis Smithers. Now, nearly everyone has been hurt by the actions of someone else, and it is very tempting to hold on to our feeling of anger and pain and bitterness. We may even want to punish the offender, which can consume us with a lot of injustice. And how do we feel when that happens to us? Because we can keep blaming everybody for the emotions we have, yet we can take control of our emotions at any time we decide to. Forgiveness is one of them. And so because those wounds can make us prisoners of the past and make us the ones that really suffer. You might have heard about the quote is to not forgive people is to maybe drink a poison and hopefully they will die. And that's really what happens, because when we forgive and let go of past hurts, we allow ourselves to heal and experience peace and happiness. And it does not mean denying the other person's actions and responsibilities. No, not at all. But it doesn't minimize the wrongs that were committed either. That's not what this is about. Forgiveness is not about, he did that and I can't. No. We don't say you need to forget. That's a whole different story. And we might also have to ask for forgiveness. And when we forgive or ask for forgiveness, we do so because it is the right thing to do. I can tell you so many stories through the program, the Values-Based Leadership Program. Me and Arti are both specialists in, and Arti is my wife. We're both specialists in, and I know as Rafia from Pakistan, another new specialist on board here as well, and she's watching. But so we can talk about it from a specialist point of view, but also from a human point of view. See, forgiveness in these values, it talks a lot more about them, and I will give you actually. I can give you some examples of what happens in there, but one of the things that really stood out for me when I read and internalized this value of forgiveness was the fact that if we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem. And we, in going through these values with so many amazing people on a weekly basis, called the round table process, there is always a seat at my table if you want to really go through these round tables, but we have seen so many amazing things happening, and people are realizing that forgiveness is not always just about forgiving the other person or forgiving yourself or just forgiving them even though they were wrong. I've heard stories where somebody realized that his brother was actually wrong. They hadn't spoken for 2 years, and even though his brother made a mistake, he took an action step within this where he said, because action is real power, of course, knowing it is no power, but he actually went to his, he says, my action step tomorrow morning, I'm going to call him and ask him for forgiveness. That small action step is huge because it will have impacted so many more people than just the two of them. But to be the person, to be the big person, to say, let's ask. That doesn't mean that he said he was ever going to forget what happened, but he was ready to be the one asking for forgiveness and no doubt forgiving the other person. But when you ask for forgiveness, even though you are convinced that the other person was the one who was wrong, it actually really helps you and actually makes the other person easier to help them with that forgiveness process as well. But there are some benefits of practicing forgiveness. And as I said, I'll give you two every time, 2 benefits, 2 characteristics of somebody who is very forgiving, and 2 steps to follow to become more forgiving. Because that's really what's going to have the impact in each and everyone's life. The first one is you will feel a sense of peace as you let go of the old pain and anger. So it's healthy for the person inside. I talk about self-care, and I'm sure I talked about forgiveness there too, but it is good for the heart and soul of the person doing the forgiving as well. And the second one is, you will be able to focus on improving yourself and your future when you are no longer focused in the past. So you need to move forward. But if you've got one or both feet in the past, then that's never going to happen. And it happens so much around the world. And it will happen much more if we start hating, if we start being angry, if we stop forgiving other people. The person with characteristics who is forgiving lives a life like this. These people actually understand that forgiveness is based on a rational decision rather than on an emotional one. See, Rafi also says forgiveness helps us more than the other person. We overcome our anguish. And thank you for that insight there as another fellow specialist. Yes, and it is so true. You know, we have to overcome our own challenges also. But another characteristic of somebody who is forgiving is that these people take responsibility for their own actions and ask for forgiveness when necessary. See, if I said already, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If you can sort part of the problem by asking for forgiveness, then hey, be that bigger person and start that process, start that ball rolling. Then, of course, I'm going to leave you with 2 action steps. There is more in the process, but 2 action steps to become more forgiving. And we can all do with improving in any of these values we're going through. And one of them is set aside your pride. Ooh, that's a big thing to do. Because do not allow that pride to keep you from the freedom of forgiveness. See, pride is a terrible thing if it stops you living, really. And that's what happens when we keep that anger, that poison inside of us. And the second one is choose to forgive for your benefit. It may be hard to forgive the person that hurt you, but you are hurting yourself by holding on. Let go of that anger, that hurt. And you need to do that. You need to take action on your life. There's an African proverb that says, when there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. Well, this is one of the enemies we can drive out of our body and out of our mind and out of our souls and out of our hearts. Drive it out. Start taking action. What do you need to forgive somebody for? What do you need to forgive yourself for? And as Rafia says again, some people will never, but still we must forgive them so we move on. So they will never apologize for what they did wrong. But if we can forgive and we can forgive ourselves for even feeling that anger towards them, that hatred, and we can move on. My question for you again before we start the weekend is, what action will you take to implement this value in your life more fully every single day? What action will you take today? Not next week. No, I'll think about it tomorrow. No, write down an action step you will take in the next, over the weekend maybe, that you can become more forgiving. Whether you have to, is there something you need to forgive yourself for or somebody else? Pick up that phone. Talk to the person and be more forgiving. Have a wonderful weekend. I will be back on Monday, and what a way to start the new week, because I'm going to start on Monday with the value of hope. I'll see you on Monday. Take care.